This is Join Us in France, episode 293. Bonjour, I'm Annie Sargent, and on today's episode, I take you to Paris with Ernesto de Jesus from California. Ernesto went with his brother, who lives in the Philippines, and they decided to meet in Paris. I've done that with my own family and friends. It's a wonderful thing to arrange. We talk about hotel choices, favorite neighborhoods, books and services they used, food experiences, including a food tour, tips about Versailles, the Opéra Garnier, hiring a professional photographer, and some down-to-earth metro tips. It was his first time in Paris, and he had a great time, as you'll see. In my personal update after the interview, I'll tell you about a possible breathalyzer test for COVID-19 being developed in France. How about that for progress? Show notes for this episode are on joinusinfrance.com/293. And if you'd like to see Ernesto's photos, follow Addicted to France on Instagram. I'll post a few of his photos each day this week. Are you ready to be transported to Paris? Let's go. Bonjour, Ernesto, and welcome to Join Us in France.
Bonjour, Annie. It's finally good to talk to you about this trip.
Yes, we have been planning this for several weeks. When did you take your trip to Paris?
It was at the end of October with my brother. I found your podcast initially in the summer of 2019 through a fans travel planning group on Facebook. I was reading a thread comment and clicked on that, and France was a country that I'd always wanted to visit.
Yeah.
It took French in high school, college. My brother, who actually lives in the Philippines now, he's been to Europe before with my mom when he was studying in college, and we've traveled together before. About 2 years ago, I got into this, hobby, I guess you would call it, about using credit card benefits to earn airline miles and points.
Right.
Luckily, I had some points that were expiring at the end of October, and I found a free flight to go from Singapore to London. So my brother and I met in Singapore, and we flew from there to London, and then we took the train to Paris.
Wow, big trip.
Yeah, it was a big trip. It was about 2 weeks.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so just to be clear, this was in 2019. This was October 27th through November 4th of 2019.
Yeah, the last vacation that I was able to take before, everything happened.
Right. Before this whole pandemic started. So you took the Eurostar from London to get into Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about how that went?
Oh, that went really well. It was really easy, to book the tickets online. We just went to the taxi queue outside. As you had mentioned on your website, avoid taking the RER train, especially when you have luggage in tow, and we arrived a little bit late at night.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'll always remember is that we were in the taxi, when we were crossing the road where you get close to the Louvre.
Yeah.
And I remember, my brother pointed out to me, oh, look onto your left, and then I noticed the huge pyramid outside the Louvre. It was lit up. It was like a beautiful sight that I'll never forget.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, you can taxis drive right in front of the pyramid. Well, not right in front, but maybe 50 yards away from the pyramid. It's very nice.
Yeah, it's something definitely to see at night, especially when you're coming into the city, you see the Eiffel Tower, and the light at the very top around it. It's really a beautiful city.
Yeah. So where did you decide to stay? Did you say Saint Germain?
Yeah, of course. So after listening to a lot of episodes, I talked, you and Elise, I know Tal really like the Saint Germain neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so since we were there for a week, I thought, well, why not try doing like the right bank, left bank, just to see the different neighborhoods.
Oh, so you changed hotel in the middle.
Yeah. So about
Oh,
like days, we started in the Saint Germain neighborhood, and then after that, the right bank.
huh. And right bank, where did you go? Did you go to like the Marais or something?
The right bank was in the second. So I don't think there's
Okay.
just talking. Is it deuxième?
Yeah, deuxième arrondissement. Yep.
Yeah, deuxième. It's like more up and coming neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that the Saint Germain is a really good area to stay. It's very like neighborhood feel.
Mm-hmm.
Really good area to stay in. I think it would be a good area for like families that are traveling, with toddlers.
Yep.
The right bank, you have more options for most of the attractions. I think that a first-time visitor would want to see.
Yes.
But I think both areas are very good. I mean, there's so many options on either side.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many hotels in Paris, and I'm sure you wrote down the names of your hotel. Oh yeah, so you went to.
It was a signature hotel.
Yep.
In Germain neighborhood. It's off Rue Commel and Boulevard Raspail.
Raspail, yeah. So Rue Chaumel et Boulevard Raspail, not very far. Okay. So what did you like about this hotel?
It was good access to the metro. They say it's in Saint Germain, but if you look at the zip code, I think technically it's bordering on the 6th and the 7th.
Yeah.
It's close to Le Bon Marché. It's right behind.
Yeah, okay. Right. So it's at the edge of Saint Germain, yes.
Mm-hmm. It's more on the edge of Saint Germain.
Right.
But it's good access. You can walk everywhere. Lots of things to see around the area.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's pretty quiet in that area. I mean, it's,
It is. I noticed like I was hearing like less of the sirens in the street that it's on is pretty quiet. It's like right off the corner.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I stayed at in the right bank was the Hoxton. In order to prepare for the trip, I came across this YouTube video, Top Jaw, 48 Hours in Paris, and they happened to stay at the Hoxton. And when I saw the video, I was like, whoa, this is pretty beautiful. And it's a restored building from the 18th century.
Oh.
It's I think it's worth a visit just to see the hotel lobby and the hotel itself, even if you're not staying there.
Oh, wow. That nice, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I think the area is not the same as Saint Germain. It's not as like walkable.
Mm.
It's on the right bank, so you can get to a lot of things from there.
Mm-hmm. But what do you mean it's not walkable?
Well, I guess it doesn't have as many like tree-lined streets. It seemed like really an up-and-coming neighborhood. Like there's a lot of construction going around the area.
Oh, that's Paris for you.
Yeah, well, it's like especially more in that area. Like
yeah, okay.
Has the Luxembourg Gardens that were
quiet, yeah.
That were like much more nice.
Yeah. And you liked it. You thought it was beautiful.
I thought the hotel was really beautiful.
Did it have tiny bedrooms and bathrooms like most hotels in Paris?
Oh no, both of the hotels I stayed at, I thought they had pretty good sized rooms. Yeah. I would recommend both. I would stay at both again.
Yeah. Wow. So then you mentioned a book that you got. So you listened to the podcast, you watched some YouTube videos, you got a book.
Yeah.
You were very prepared.
I read about this book in the New York Times travel section. It was called Paris in Stride, maybe about a year before my trip. And it gives you self-guided walking tours for the individual arrondissements. I did 2 of them, which was in the 1st and the 2nd, and the Saint Germain. I used the addresses that were provided in the book to create a Google Maps.
Yep.
So like on the Saint Germain, it took you to Pierre Hermé, the Saint-Sulpice Church, and the Luxembourg Gardens.
Right, and I think I've seen this map. It actually takes you quite a ways outside because it almost takes you to the Jardin des Plantes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a long walk.
It's a long walk. It started along. It was Rue Bonaparte.
Yeah.
So you'll be close. You'll pass the Les Deux Magots
Right.
and the Church of Saint Germain.
Yep.
It's a nice way to see the area if you're like, doing things on your own and everything.
And then through the Luxembourg Gardens and lots of other things. And of course, I have to mention that I have a Saint Germain des Prés walking tour that starts at the church Saint Germain des Prés and takes you through most of that. But it takes you around the big highlights. It's not as much walking as what this book recommends, because it really takes you several kilometers away from. If that's the one I'm remembering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely would like to try your audio tours the next time.
Oh, you didn't? They weren't out yet.
I don't think the Saint Germain one was out.
Right.
Yet.
Right. Right. Not yet. Yeah. It's very fun because it's a very easy way to see the highlights of an area without doing as much research as you did. But of course, you enjoy doing the research, I suppose. So.
Oh yeah, part of the fun of travel is always researching.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody always hear about just wander around. But I think it's good to also like have a plan.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of wander around without knowing what. I think the people who say that are people who tend to go to Paris a lot and they stay for a month or two. And so they have, of course, if you're there for a month or two, you should wander around and just discover.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're only there for a week or 10 days, well.
Yeah, you want to at least. You want to at least break it down, because you're not going to see everything on your first visit.
No, probably not. Probably not.
And then the other walk that I did was in the first and the second.
Yep.
Around the Palais Royal.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, area was beautiful. The covered passages, Galerie Vivienne, Passage des Panoramas.
Yep.
And then as I was walking around that area by the Jardin du Palais Royal, there's an area in the first that has an abundance of Japanese restaurants.
Absolutely.
One of the places that I've been to quite a few times is Tokyo, so I was excited to see all of those Japanese restaurants.
Yeah, they have some great place for noodles and noodle bars and things like that. Which I wish we had those in. Well, we have some in Toulouse, but not that much. But right around that area, yeah, it's very nice. Good food around there because a lot of people work in that area, and so obviously they have a lot of lunchtime type of restaurants.
Yeah, I was surprised just to hear or to see Japanese people speaking French at the restaurant.
Well, yeah, there are people who look have all sorts of ethnic background who are French. Yeah.
And then the other, one of the things that we did in terms of food experiences, of course, you can't come to Paris and not enjoy all the food, is a food tour with Paris by mouth.
Okay.
Yeah, it was led by a food journalist. We did the Taste of Saint Germain.
Yeah.
It was 2 hours. We visited pastry shops, bakeries, sampling items. And then the last hour, she led a cheese-wine pairing. The tour price included all the food, and I would recommend it. It's a small group.
Yep.
They email you after everything is done, listing all of the places in case you want to go back and purchase items. One of the things that I learned from there was that when you order a baguette at a boulangerie, you don't just say un baguette. You should order a baguette du tradition.
Yeah, baguette tradition, yeah. Well, you could do baguette as well, but they're different.
Yeah, I remember she said if you order a baguette, you will get the worst baguette in this city.
Yeah, I don't know about the worst, but it'll probably be better than baguettes you can get in the U.S., which are mostly sourdough types baguettes. But it's true that baguette tradition is better than a baguette, normal baguette. Yeah, that's what I get all the time at my bakery.
Yeah, and their website has restaurant recommendations arranged by neighborhood. Because I know on the Facebook group, a lot of people always ask, "Oh, where should I eat in Paris?"
Yeah.
And it's just kind of it's in case people are looking for restaurant recommendations.
Yeah. And I just published an episode. It was episode 286 with general tips about how to choose restaurants in Paris, and also the traditional types of restaurants, the historical restaurants that they have in Paris. And I think those are also good to add to your visit. To add to your visit. Yeah.
And then, see what the others we went to is a Beau Passage. Have you heard of this area? It's in Saint Germain, or like in the 7th, I believe.
Yes, I have heard of it. I was trying to remember if I went in. I don't remember. I'd have to look at my photos.
I guess it's one of the newest areas, according to the food journalist that led the tour. It has like a Pierre Hermé, something by Thierry Marx.
Okay.
And then chef Annie Sophie Pick.
Okay.
It was the restaurant was called Epicurean Par Nature.
Okay.
We went for lunch after. It's a nice area. It's one of the newer places, according to the food journalist.
Yeah, I'm quite sure I haven't been to this restaurant. I might have been to the Passage, but not. So is it a big Passage or is it like a short little thing?
It's a short. It's not that big. It's I'd say maybe like 7 restaurants there probably.
Okay, so it's just restaurants.
Yeah, it's more restaurants, and then they have art installations too around the area.
Okay, nice.
And then can't come to Paris without trying a croissant. So we had a croissant at La Maison d'Isabelle.
I see.
It's in the Latin Quarter. On their sign, it's voted best croissant 2018.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of options, but that was the one that we were to try.
Yeah.
Euro, so why not?
Yeah, €1 is actually a good price for croissant. You right now for croissant you pay anywhere between 80 cents and €1.20. So €1 is right in the middle for a place that has been awarded this designation. I guess that's good. All right, so carry on with talking about Le Timbre.
Oh yeah, it was a small restaurant run by a husband and wife. Good food. It wasn't expensive. It was in the Saint Germain area near the Luxembourg Gardens. French food, and we made reservations online.
Okay, so was this something that the food tour took you to, or something that you discovered on your own?
Oh no, it's just something that I came across online and trying to research places to go.
Huh. And so it was. You said it was small. Like how many tables?
I was probably only like 6 tables inside. The husband was the chef, and then his wife was the taking all the reservations and the waitress. Yeah.
Well, that happens a lot in France. The thing is, I don't know how these tiny restaurants are going to do after the pandemic because they're so small. They can't really. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. They might turn into a to-go kind of restaurant,
Yeah, a lot of restaurants here in Los Angeles are turning to that model.
Yeah.
Where they're, preserving or modifying their menus on a to-go basis.
Yeah, is that because they don't have a lot of room or because people just don't want to sit at a restaurant?
Yeah, I think it's just the whole pandemic, and stay-at-home orders.
Yeah. It's true that in France we have an awful lot of very nice, very small family restaurants. Husband and wife type, or sometimes there's even one that I've taken people to where the cook does everything. He'll take your order, he'll bring your food, he'll make the food, and it's really good. That's called l'Auberge des Deux Ponts. It's on the Île de la Cité, or maybe I can't remember what island it's on, but it's in that area, and I don't know how he's going to keep going because it's so small. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see. Yeah.
And then the other place that we went to for lunch, it's very popular in Paris, Frenchy.
Frenchy?
Yeah, it's along Rue de Nil.
Okay, Rue du Nil, yeah.
It was like a casual restaurant, Frenchy to go. They have a bunch of restaurants in that area. It's part of the whole, they call it the Frenchy Empire. Have like how they have a wine bar, they have the Frenchie restaurant, and then we were able to try Frenchie to go.
Excellent. And you liked it?
Well, it was very good. It was American food, I would say.
Okay. All right. So it's American-y to go.
And then also the chocolates and fruit jellies at Jacques Genin.
Oh, yes.
Was from the food journalist had brought us to that place.
Yeah. That's famous.
And the macarons at the Pierre Hermé.
So how did you like the macaron at Pierre Hermé?
The best macaron I've tried.
Is that right? So that's good. They didn't disappoint.
They did not disappoint.
That's good. Good.
I've tried the La Durée in New York, and now they have the La Durée here in Los Angeles, so I didn't go there. But I know that one's very popular.
Oh, it's very popular, and Pierre Hermé is famous because he does kind of unusual flavors for his macaron.
Yes.
So that's what made him famous. And he's also very good at marketing, so that helps. But the macarons are good, so there you go.
Yeah. And then we did a day trip to Versailles.
Oh, nice.
We did a bike tour with Blue Fox, where we met the guide at the Gare Saint-Lazare.
Oh, okay.
Right there. We went on a picnic, and then we rented bikes with our guide, and we just biked around the whole area that was more outside the palace.
Okay.
Yeah, it was nice. I guess the only negative after the experience, and it's not really mentioned in the reviews that I read on their website, is that by the time you get to the Palace of Versailles, it was 4 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And since we went at the end of October, it's pretty dark around 5 p.m.
Yeah.
So really able to see much of the palace inside. But the advantage is that since they close around 6 p.m. is that you can go through the Hall of Mirrors without anybody there.
Right. But if it's a overcast day and it's dark and stuff, it might not be as fun. But that's what I recommend too, is that people go into the Hall of Mirrors, so the major part of the palace, that they go later in the afternoon, because that's when the tour buses have left.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the experience, but in case there's travelers that are thinking about it,
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of options, like you mentioned on your podcast, that Napoleon's apartments at the Louvre, the Opera Garnier, which we went to, and the Luxembourg Gardens were just as nice, if not better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, better experience in terms of less crowds.
Right. So Versailles is such a large place that it's a lot of lawn. Mm-hmm. It's a very large place. So there are beautiful areas, beautiful little gardens in the middle of all this lawn, but in between the beautiful gardens, there's a lot of space for you to walk and enjoy. In October, I don't know if it's it didn't rain on you, did it?
No, it didn't rain on us while we were in Versailles.
But that's always a possibility, because this is Paris in October, so
I mean, when you look at the map that they give you for Versailles, it is a little overwhelming when you see what you could actually see in Versailles.
Yeah.
It is very big.
Right. And like you mentioned, if you don't have time to go to Versailles, I think to give you a good idea of the kind of place it is, take the time to go to Napoleon III apartments inside of the Louvre Museum. Yeah. It's a part of the Louvre, and it's you don't need a separate ticket. It's with the same entry that you got to get into the Louvre. You can go see that. But because it's a little bit out of the way, a lot of people don't ever make it to that, but it's amazing. And of course, the Opéra Garnier, like you mentioned.
Yeah, the Opera Garnier, I'd recommend the tour that's offered on their website.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still crowded, like the Versailles, but I thought that was it Salon the Opera? The Salon de Opera?
Yeah, les salons de l'opéra. Yeah, le grand salon, yeah.
Fire.
Yeah.
It's actually much more ornate than the Hall of Mirrors.
It is, because it's much newer as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Yeah, it's that sort of all out kind of decor, you know. They really went all out. But the Garnier Opera is probably the most ornate of all of these types of places in Paris.
Definitely a lot of crowds there, like the Louvre, though, now.
Yeah, and again, we'll have to see what happens after the pandemic, how they handle crowds, because I'm pretty sure they're going to have to do some things differently, but we don't know at this time, so we can't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then one of the last experiences that we did was take some professional photos by
yes.
her that my cousin had recommended.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's something worthwhile to do. We took it at the Trocadero, the Louvre, and the Pont de Bir Hakim.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good experience that I would recommend. It's nice to have like souvenir photos.
Absolutely.
From your visit, as it's hard to take pictures, you know, when you're sightseeing and everything. At least, you know, you just need a few good photos.
Yes.
Just for your trip. So.
And I'm looking at a photo you sent me of you and your brother at the Louvre. It looks very nice. I like the style of this photographer.
Mm-hmm. I like the one with the pigeons at the... Did you see the one with the pigeons at the Trocadero?
Let's see. Ah, yes. Here I am. Oh, that's lovely. Is that you or your brother?
That's me.
That's you. Beautiful smile.
Oh, thank you.
I'll put some of these photos on the website, and the way you'll see these photos is when I promote the episode on social media, I use the photos that the person has sent me, so you'll see them in various places.
And then just to kind of round everything out, just some tips that I found useful from your podcast.
Yep.
Other research, the Navigo Seman Pass that Lachlan Cook recommended was useful.
Yep.
You have to remember to bring your passport photos.
So this has changed. This has changed in the meantime. Now you don't need a photo. There's a card called Navigo Easy. I think the card itself, you pay maybe 2 or 3 euros for it. It doesn't even have your name on it. It's something that you charge and you can recharge, and it's instead of the single tickets. And if you happen to need to go to Versailles, for instance, you can just buy a special ticket and put it on that card as well. Anyway, so that's Navigo Easy is what it's called now.
Oh, okay. So you don't need a passport photo anymore.
You don't need the passport photo anymore, and I think it's easier than the Navigo Semaine or month or whatever. I mean, I don't know that they've discontinued the Navigo Semaine, but they might. Because that Navigo is now for people who live there and just take it year round or, months and months at a time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So does that mean, because I held on to my Navigo Semaine, is that something that you can reactivate on a future visit again, or do you have to purchase a new one?
No, normally you can reuse it. But they might discontinue it by the time you return to Paris. I'm not sure. But the Navigo Easy is like $1 or $2. It's really cheap. Yeah.
And then the other, what was also mentioned in the episode 223 was the Bus 69 tour.
Ah, yes.
So you from around right behind the Eiffel Tower all the way through to the Marais for the price of a bus ticket, or in this case, we just use our Navigo Seman Pass.
Yeah.
Free bus tour of Paris.
So this is not a tour per se. This is just a bus. This is a city bus.
It's just you're just kind of riding along, and then
yeah, it's a good line because it takes you along to a lot of monuments and what have you. And if you want to get off, you can and visit them, or not get off, whatever. It's a very bus number 69 is a good one
to remember. And then the museum pass, we did take advantage of that, and we definitely got our money's worth with it. Mm-hmm. Booking tickets ahead of time, allowing enough time for lines is really important.
Yep.
especially, when it's a new city for you. And I mean, Paris is so busy with tourists. So.
Yeah, and the lines can get long because they do security everywhere. But with this new pandemic, they are trying to have as few people in line as possible, because now having big lines is going to be a health hazard for a while. So I don't know how they're going to handle it. They might have you book a timed entry for a lot of things, but again, we don't know yet.
Yeah. And then also creating a Google Maps of the things that you want to go to. This has been mentioned before on other travelers, and it is very helpful to help you navigate. You can just select from, your list of addresses about where you're going next, help you navigate on public transportation.
Yep. Yeah, that's just, you can create your own custom map for your trip.
Yes, exactly. And then there were some YouTube videos that I watched before in trip preparation that I found helpful as well.
Yeah, you saw a few. Yeah, you were very well prepared.
It's part of the fun in traveling, I think, is like researching it ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then actually experiencing the travel and then coming back, looking at your pictures. And I hope to return to Paris again.
Were you surprised by anything? Is there anything that you didn't expect?
I would say, like with the taxi, I didn't realize this until after, is that we took a taxi and then I would ask the driver if they accept credit card, and then they told me no.
Yeah.
And then I asked
That's a scam.
I asked the receptionist at the hotel. Oh, that's kind of odd that they didn't accept credit.
I'm going to tell you, it's going to sound like I'm an old grump, but this is the reality of things. The Paris taxis are all set up to take credit cards. The thing is, if it goes through the credit card, they have to declare it. If they get cash from you, they don't have to declare it. So they're just trying to cheat the government out of taxes. So it's happened to me a couple of times when they said, oh, my credit card reader doesn't work or whatever. And I said, well, that's all I got. So do you want to get paid or not? And guess what? All of a sudden, they make it work. So, but I'm French, so it's easier for me to handle this sort of thing because I know darn well what they're doing. And it's annoying. You could ask before you enter the taxi if they take credit cards, if that's a concern. Especially if you don't have cash. But in my case, I didn't have the cash. Like, you're a Paris taxi. You take credit cards. Deal with it.
I would say the only other thing, you always hear about Paris. Oh, it's so overrated that, everybody goes to Paris. It's a very, like, a cliche destination.
Yeah.
But you're there. I thought it was a really beautiful city. Everything is pretty, like, close to each other. As long as you stay in the center of the city, you'll be able to pretty much like walk to a lot of things.
True. It's a very walkable city.
Very walkable city and very beautiful.
Yeah.
I guess one of the only things we didn't have time for was taking the bateau mouche.
Ah.
Yeah, I missed that. So definitely something to add for the next visit.
Yeah. And how was it visiting with your brother? So you said you had traveled with your brother before.
Oh, yeah, we travel well together. He's an architect. So he enjoyed all of the architecture. Both of us like taking pictures, so.
Yeah.
But we're both into photography.
And you look like you're pretty close in age.
Oh, yeah, we're like about a year apart.
Oh, yeah, very close in age. Yeah, that's fun that you can travel with your brother. If I traveled with my brother, I might have to choke him to death.
He studied for a year in Europe, in Florence.
Oh.
So he's been to Paris before one time in other countries in Europe. So.
Oh, so he was your ace.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So what do you have plans? Are you planning on coming back to France?
Well, I was planning on coming back. I did have something booked in September. but I don't think that's really going to pan out this year.
Probably not.
Hopefully in 2021.
Yeah, I think it's fair to plan for trips to France in 2021. 2020, I highly doubt it, because France, we're barely starting to see the end of this pandemic, and letting in a lot of visitors might cause it to start up again. And it was too painful the first time. We don't want to do that. So
yeah, I hope to maybe try one of your audio tours on my next visit, or finally make it to Giverny.
Ah, yes.
Which we weren't able to do this time, or which I was. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, the audio tours, like I mentioned earlier, they're fun. They're very easy. They take you to the highlights of an area. They tell you some of the history, some of the fun little stories that happen there. And of course, the advantage going forward is that you're not in a group. So you can take them with whoever you're traveling with without, being in a big group with 20 other people that you don't know. So that might be an advantage. And Giverny, definitely, if you can, you have to look. It closes for the winter. I can't remember. I think it's closed by the end of October until late March. So you have to make sure you find the dates. But it is glorious, anytime it's open.
Is it better? Like, are certain seasons better to see it than others?
No, they have beautiful flowers all the time. They've really made it so that there's something beautiful to see. I've seen it at different times of the year. If you go in April, you'll see a lot of tulips and a lot of daffodils and things, because that's what comes up, I guess June and July are my favorites, because I love the types of flowers that you see at that time of year in France. But that's just me. But it's beautiful anytime.
And also the chateaus in the Loire Valley.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody had posted on the Facebook group how they went to all of them in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was beautiful.
Right. So the easy way to do that is to just book a tour with the Paris city. Paris has a big city hall, the main city hall by the Seine River.
Okay.
On the side of it, if you're facing City Hall on the left, you hook a left, you go around the building on the left, and that's where the major tourist office is in Paris. And there you can book day tours to the Loire Valley, where they just pick you up. You come back another day, they sell you a ticket to take you on the bus. You're in a bus, they take you, you visit by yourself, or you use their audio guide or whatever. I'm sure some of these buses have guides as well. I'm not sure what all they offer, and then they bring you back at the end of the day. And it's a very easy way to do it, and it's not very expensive. It's like maybe 50 euros, which is a lot less than hiring a private guide to take you there.
A private guide to take you there.
Yeah. So
I think that's everything that I had wanted to
discuss. Well, that's wonderful. I can tell you had a great time. You have some wonderful tips, and your photos are great. I love it when people send me nice photos.
One of the things that I love to do is taking travel. In travel is pictures.
That's great.
Something to look back on later.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Ernesto, for coming on the show. As you know, I can't do this podcast without people like you, so I very much appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, no, thank you. I'm really happy that I found your podcast and hopefully return to Paris or France sooner than later.
All right. Merci. Au revoir.
Merci beaucoup, Annie. Au revoir.
Au revoir. Thank you, patrons, for giving me a precious gift, the time to produce this podcast. Your few dollars a month make it possible, and in these times of great uncertainty and anxiety, it is so appreciated. Patrons get several exclusive rewards in return for their support. You can see them at patreon.com/join us. That's Patreon, join us, no spaces or dashes. Thank you to all of you who support the show. Some of you have done so for many years now. You are fantastic. And a special shout out this week to new patrons, Courtney Smith, Scott Rook, Hilda Chan, and Carl. Thank you so much. Thank you also, Dolores, for increasing your pledge. I want to read what Dolores wrote, not just because she says nice things about the show, but also because it sums up why I keep doing this while I know that many of my listeners cannot travel right now. I heard you share in one of your recent podcasts that many people had made the switch or had even stopped contributing. This really touched my heart as I thought about the way the pandemic is affecting so many aspects of our lives in so many unexpected ways. I also thought about how much your podcast has meant to me. It literally made the difference in our trip to Paris. I haven't done this yet, but I want to go through the podcast I listened to and describe exactly when and how they made a difference. Wow, that'd be fun. You helped so much. And as I continue to listen to your podcast, I know that it won't be long until I return to France. There is so much more to see. I would love to be there for weeks, just meandering throughout the country. Thank you for your podcasts because they provide an anchor during this time of incredible uncertainty, and they offer hope that someday we will be able to travel again. And yes, I want to keep you dreaming about great escapes to France. Mindset changes everything, and it's best not to surround yourself with too much doom and gloom. So keep listening. I'll do my best to keep you hopeful, you know? My thanks also to Paula Keeley for sending in a one-time donation by using the green button on any page on joinusinfrance.com that says tip your guide. Thank you so much, Paula. You cheered me right up. And it was good to hear from you since you took an in-person tour with me and it feels like you're a friend. And if you'd like to support the show without spending a penny you wouldn't have otherwise, before you go shopping on Amazon, go to the bottom of any page on joinusinfrance.com and click on the Amazon ad. This week, somebody, I don't know who, bought some Ménage à Trois wines, which I've had and enjoyed. Lots of groceries, like even produce and frozen food. We can't do that on Amazon in France. A map of Paris, several novels, some jeans. Anyway, it doesn't matter what you buy. If you start your shopping from the Join Us in France website, I get a small commission, and thank you so much. I know some of you are now able to visit France. Canadians, Australians, New Zealanders, English people, all of Europe, you know. I don't think it's crazy to do so, especially if you can mostly hang out in parts of the country that have very low virus circulation. That would be Normandy, Brittany, Aquitaine, and Occitanie. A lot of the Pays de Loire as well. The west side of France is experiencing really low levels of virus circulation and has since May 11th when we deconfined. I still wouldn't go to Paris or Provence or Alsace or even the Alps. It's too soon for that, in my opinion, but I mean, even there, it's not too scary. So the pandemic is still under good control in France. Even stadiums will be reopening tomorrow. I think dance clubs are the only thing that are still closed. That doesn't mean that we don't get new cases. We often get around 600 new cases per day for a country of 65 million. And some days it looks like the numbers are creeping up. But the number of hospitalizations has been going down steadily, and so has the number of deaths. And I'm very grateful for that. There are efforts everywhere in France to detect carriers who are not symptomatic. A recent article in Nature indicates that 44% of shedders are asymptomatic. So no wonder this virus is so hard to avoid if 44% of people who have it and transmit it feel no symptoms. There will be a link in the show notes for this article. I really appreciate young people who wear a mask because it shows that they understand they could be sick and not know it. My own daughter is working through the summer and she goes to an office and every few days she says, I'm worried I might bring it home. I mean, she she doesn't have any reason to think so, but, she just worries about it. And she wonders if she should move back into her little studio and be by herself there. If there was more virus going around in the Toulouse area, that would be really good. But the risk is low right now, so we'll just enjoy her at home for now. In Montpellier, a biotech company developed a saliva test that has proven to be effective and inexpensive, but it takes an hour to give the results. They are using this test on professional sports teams so they can show up at practice, take a test, and if they're negative, they can go do their workouts as a group. Another company in Lyon has developed a breathalyzer test that yields instant results, just like the alcohol breathalyzer. That one has not passed the efficacy stage yet, but early results are promising, which is why I'm mentioning it. A breathalyzer test is going to be a game changer because it will allow for random tests of large numbers of the population, whether or not they feel sick. And that way we'd get the true picture of what's going on with this epidemic in France. It's all about the science and the public health. They are the only two things that can get us out of this terrible situation. And I appreciate so much everyone who is working on this because, like you, I am sick of it. But at least I am not anxious and petrified anymore, which I know happens when it feels like the pandemic is out of control. And that's the case in many countries, including the US. And that's a bad situation to be in. Just do the right thing for yourself and don't worry too much about what other people are doing. French people are not as compliant as I'd like to see. Seems to be slipping a little bit. But of course, again, we have the lowest numbers of hospitalizations for COVID-19 anywhere in France. For my whole region of Occitanie, it's just under 6 million people. We have 53 people hospitalized right now and just a handful in the ICU. So people aren't near as scared as they were when the numbers kept going up. I remember vividly the moment I found out that we had over 1,000 deaths in a day in France. That really hit hard. Those days seem to be over and hopefully won't come back because most of us have learned our lesson. But I took my little black poodle to the vet yesterday, and masks are mandatory anywhere medical. But 2 people tried to enter without masks while I was waiting. The receptionist politely told them to get a mask. And minutes later, they came back with a mask. And this is what kills me. Once they were sitting down in the waiting room where the receptionist couldn't see them, they pulled the mask down under their noses. It wasn't hot. It was well air-conditioned. There was no reason not to be breathing well. So let me be on the record to say that we have no shortage of idiots in France either. This morning, I went grocery shopping. I still go just once a week at most. And if I need anything else, I can get curbside delivery. One lady, probably 90s, hunched over, walked slowly with a cane. She was accompanied by her son, who was 20 years younger, but, still no spring chicken. Both were obviously high risk. They wore no masks, no gloves, and they didn't use the gel at the door. When the lady realized she was the only one without a mask, she pulled one out of her purse, joked with her son that she was doing it to please the rest of us, even though nobody asked her anything because masks are not mandatory at grocery stores. And then she wore it under her nose. Her son didn't even do that. That just blows my mind. I wish them well, I really do. But there are no words for such reckless behavior. Remember a couple of months back when I told you that I finally got a mask via a volunteer who donated it? Masks were really hard to find then. By now, they are everywhere and they are cheap. Both my village and the region distributed free cloth masks. All you had to do is care enough to go get it. Pharmacies have them, grocery stores have them, and we still have some people who don't wear a mask. But most people do, at least indoors where it matters most. And the French healthcare system seems to have their ducks in a row, so there's hope. I'm not letting down my guard. It's too soon for me. But I think there are too many people who say, well, they kept changing their minds about this, the masks, and the this and the that. Well, yeah, because this is a new thing. Nobody knew anything about it. So they made pronouncements that were completely wrong months ago. But by now we know better. At least we should. So, when you get different evidence, let your opinions change accordingly. If you're starting to think about taking a trip to France because the pandemic is under control in your country as it is in France, I can help make you a custom itinerary. You can email Annie@joinusinfrance.com to set that up and write itinerary review in the subject line, but it'll cost you $50. And you know how Oscar Wilde said, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery? Well, I should be flattered because there's this one tour guide in Paris getting quite a bit of inspiration from my tours. I'd rather not name the company, but this person has bought all of my tours. Now, normally I don't pay attention to who buys what tours, but since the tour sales have crawled down to a trickle as a result of the pandemic, it doesn't take long to glance at the email addresses, and it's a tour company. As we say in French, c'est de bonne guerre. But if you're interested in getting my original tours straight from the horse's mouth, go to joinusinfrance.com/audio tours. They are so good, other folks just imitate them. If you enjoy the show, introduce a friend to the podcast and show them how to subscribe. Maybe someone who needs to dream about getting away? Next week on the podcast, an episode with just me, where I polled the Join Us in France closed group on Facebook and asked you where you like to shop in Paris. I've been to most of these stores, so we'll talk about that. See, it's about getting away in your head, even if you can't do it in real life. Send questions or feedback to Annie@joinusinfrance.com. Have a wonderful week. Please be safe, and I'll talk to you next week. Au revoir. The Join Us in France Travel Podcast is written and produced by Annie Sargent and copyright 2020 by Addicted to France. It is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license.